Yes, sir.
Hi.
Good morning.
Jim Jonas. Thank you all for, first off, I know there was a couple tough decisions all of you guys had to make today. And so I would just like to honestly start off by thanking each and every one of you. I honestly believe that city council is the most important form of government, and I applaud you all for your service. Thank you guys very much. Also, on behalf of Veterans in Politics, I also want to give a special thank you to Mayor Pro Tem, Anthony, and Councilman Knutson for helping with Veterans in Politics, moving some of our projects forward. With that being said, one of the things that I don't know if it's within your purview or not, but maybe something that you guys could look into is there's a lot of confusion with building permits and requirements. The county requires one thing, North Las Vegas requires another, Henderson requires another, and Las Vegas requires another. While I respect the fact that all four are different municipalities, I was wondering if there's any way that maybe you guys could reach out to your peers. This might be a legislative issue, and it doesn't make any sense. It creates a lot of confusion. We're all in the same valley, so you don't really know who to go to and how to get things done. And what it's doing is it's creating a lot of people not getting licensed contractors and doing things the wrong way and not working properly through government. So I would really like if there's anything you guys could do to look into that for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Folks, we're back. This is Steve Sanson, Jim Jonas, another episode of Veterans in Politics. Today we have Debbie Conway, who's the Clark County Recorder. And I'm sure many of you don't know what that is, but Debbie's going to explain it all to us. But before we get to our guest, Jim, you have any rants?
No, actually, I don't really have a rant. Actually, it's more of introduction to our guest. I think here's the thing that, and thank you, Steve, for teaching me this.
What was that?
Years ago. I think this country has it backwards in a lot of ways. And what I mean by that is Biden has less influence, President Biden has less influence on your life than Debbie Conway. Because if it's not recorded, it never happened.
That's right.
Right? So it's very important for people to understand these so-called lower offices, which I disagree with. I don't think they're lower offices at all. So
They affect you on a daily.
yeah, and I really appreciate, especially on a Memorial Day weekend, for Debbie to come in here and explain what her job is, what it entails, because again, if it's not recorded, it didn't happen. How many times in your life have you said, well, wait a minute, I own that house? Well, no, I'm pretty sure it's homesteaded. Well, then you go to court. Well, funny enough, there's no documentation to support that. Debbie's office actually does that, but it's not Debbie's fault that didn't happen. It's your fault for not reaching out to the county recorder's office to make sure that happened.
And people record their DD2 214s too.
Right.
And they just color out their social security number, which I would advise them to do that.
Right.
and record it that way. That way, in case you lose it, or your significant other passes away, somebody, the surviving spouse could go and find it quite easily with the recorder's office. But let's not talk amongst ourselves about it.
No.
Let's just bring Ms. Conway in.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you guys for having me today.
Could you thank you for being here, and could you give us a bio? Recorder. They call you Recorder Conway. Is that what they call you?
Yes. Lots of people call me Recorder Conway. And just to talk a little bit about my past. My background is
Your past discretions.
no. No. My past in terms of where I've been, what I've done, those types of things. So I was at one point I was a project manager. I've been in banking. I was a bank manager. I've been a sales manager. I've been an instructor at a university.
Wow.
So I've done a lot of different
What
things.
did you teach, by the way?
Business management.
Oh, okay.
So I have a master's degree in business management.
Okay.
And all of my background and experiences kind of led me to where I am today in the recorder's office.
Okay.
So I've been in the recorder's office. I've been elected 4 times now.
How many?
4.
Wow.
1, 2, 3, 4.
You believe in term limits or no?
To a certain extent, certain offices.
Okay.
But in our office, it takes a while to get things going.
You've been in that office that long?
Going on 16 years.
Damn, Jim, we've known her that long.
Yeah.
2007.
Wow. You know, she needs to invite us over for Thanksgiving or something.
Right. So anyway, long story short, that was my background. I wrote grants. I did grant administration. And excuse me for my voice, but I'm just the allergies from when the wind's been blowing here lately.
I'm allergic to Jim too, so.
And so anyway, all the background that I had immersed together, the banking background, the project management background, all the things that I did. So when I went into the office in 2007, we laid out a platform. Our office, of course, we record documents, as you mentioned. We take care of all the properties here in Henderson, Boulder City, Laughlin, Mesquite, Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, all the different areas throughout the county.
Okay.
And so we keep track of the properties, record all the properties once they change hands or someone comes in and buy a new house. We also will track or keep records of your deeds, your trust, any liens that are placed on the property, your DD-2 14s, as you mentioned. And so that's the purpose of our office. We record documents, we save them until perpetuity. If anyone comes in and needs a copy of a deed or a land transaction or whatever the case may be, or just a history, do a historical search to see who owned the property in previous years and who's the current owner, we have all the records.
So it's important to get a permit when you're increasing the square footage of your home?
Well, we don't deal with that part. That's the building department.
Yeah, but they record it. They have to record it with you, right?
They record all, yes. And oftentimes when the maps are done of subdivisions in different areas throughout the county, they record the maps with our office as well.
Okay. Since you've been in office, what year did you come to office? 2007?
2007.
Since you've been in there, what changes have you made since then?
Oh, we made lots of changes.
Let's hear a few of them so everybody can know exactly what changes you made.
Okay. When I first came into office, we had a situation where there was a backup because of the technology. Okay. It needed to be streamlined, and we needed all new technology. If you wanted to record a property, if you bought a property and wanted to record it, it took anywhere up to 9 months to get the copies of the document back and the property properly recorded. So what we did, or what I did, is we went in with a team and an agenda, and we outlined 40 things that needed to happen right away in order to get streamline the documents, streamline the process, and make sure that everything got recorded. So we bought all new computers because the computers were old and outdated, all new scanners, all new printers. Also brought in a team of folks from Manpower to mail back all the documents that had been previously recorded that had not been mailed back. And so we implemented a new system a recordation system, one that could not only record the documents, but also generate reports, tell us on a daily basis where we were, how many documents were in the queue, how long it was going to take for us to process those documents, and so forth. So we started there. Ground floor is what I say pretty much. And then we built, over the years, we've not only streamlined the process, we've added different types of technology and also different apps to our recordation system. We're the first, this one I kind of like to boast about because it's my baby. We're the first jurisdiction in the world to produce a recordation kiosk. So we have a recordation kiosk, and the purpose of it is to put it into outlying areas like down in Laughlin, in Henderson, different places, so that they won't have to come all the way to Clark County government building to be able to access a document. It's an interactive recordation kiosk, and it's multi-purposed. And by that I mean interactive. You can walk up to the screen, touch the screen, and one of our recorders in our office will come up on the screen and walk you through the process. And there's a scanner. You scan in your document.
What does that cost?
Believe it or not, it's much cheaper than opening a branch. The kiosk only costs $10,000 to pull all the technology together. And so our IT team was the one that pursued it and pretty much put it together. So
how about the maintenance of it?
They maintain the whatever needs are.
Okay.
Our IT team does.
Okay.
So again, you walk to the kiosk, it's interactive, you touch the screen, you talk to the recorders if you're actually standing in our lobby and processing your document. And so scan it in, and then once the transaction is done, you put your credit card in, it makes the payment, and then the machine will spit out your document and it seals it and stamps it as if you were actually in the office with our seal and our stamp. So that was probably the thing that really just kind of, we worked really hard on to make sure that it would save the constituents time and money so they wouldn't have to come all the way to the government center. We also, prior to the kiosk, we opened...
With that, how many sites do you have?
We have 3 sites.
Okay.
We have an office in Henderson in the City Hall on the first floor, and we're in that office with Breonna Johnson, the assessor, and also Lynn Goya, the clerk, has a presence in that office. And we also take tax payments for the treasurer.
Okay.
So it's like one-stop shopping when it relates to your property. We also have an office in the northwest part of town on the corner of Cheyenne and Tenaya in the Donna Maria Plaza. So those 2 offices, again, getting out into the community, making it easier and making it user-friendly for the constituents to have access to the services. And recently, as a matter of fact, I told you I had something really special that I wanted to share, not only with your listeners, but we're getting ready to do to market our latest product that we brought into fruition. It's actually in production on our webpage. We're a member of the Fight Fraud Task Force, and oftentimes people file false liens on property and they do all kinds of fraudulent things. And so in our contribution to the overall effort, of course, we can't give legal advice, or once a document is recorded, according to the law, we can't unrecord it or remove it. You have to have a court order. So what we are doing is we're going to allow the public to sign up, and it's called RNS. Those are the initials. It's the Recordation Notification Service. So what you can do, if you own a property, own a home or property, you can go into our webpage and give us your email address, your parcel number, and pretty much it's the email address, your parcel number, and then your name on the property. So you're the one that's doing the monitoring. And anything that's recorded on that property as we do our daily work, it will notify you if something records on that property. So if it's a lien or some type of negative document, you can try and get rid of it beforehand instead of waiting for years, and then when you're trying to sell the property, it crops up. Mm-hmm. So it's called a recorder's notification service.
Let me stop you right there, Ms. Conway. Before somebody could record a lien, do you make sure that it's not a bogus lien? Do you make sure that it's legit? Do you do the investigative work that lien is legit to be on that property, not somebody just putting a lien on somebody's property without any kind of legitimacy at all?
Now, the way we deal with that is, again, the law says that we're not to provide legal interpretations. Right. We record about 50,000 documents a day. Right. And so we can't make a call as to whether it's legal or not because we don't know the notary, the person that notarized the document, and our people don't have the authority to make phone calls and investigate items. But what we do behind the scene as a courtesy to the public and to try and circumvent a lot of the stuff, we can hold a document for 48 hours for review. So if the recorder feels that there's something illegitimate about that document or sees something that they've seen in the past, sometimes we have notifications going around the office when we know someone or something has happened in the past, and we keep our people informed. This person might come in. If they do, they've been known to file false documents and this kind of thing. So they will check in that regard. And if they feel something is not quite right, they have the right to submit the document for a 48-hour review. We send it up to our DA's office. The attorney looks at it. The DA will contact either the FBI or Metro or the Attorney General's office and scan the document in and send it over to them. And then they'll have their investigators to take a look at it. So they got 48 hours to turn around to look at the document to determine if it's legitimate.
What would constitute a legitimate document, though? I mean,
in our case, we have to judge the document based on recording requirements only. If you got the black ink, if you got the margin, the notary signature.
So that's basically all you're looking for.
Exactly.
So what happens if somebody has let's say Jim owes me a couple $100 because he didn't pay the restaurant dining bill, and I found out Jim has a house, and I'm gonna put a lien on that house because he owes me some money for that restaurant bill.
There's a line on the lien document that you have to explain why you're placing a lien on the property. So things like that are not legitimate excuses. If it has something to do with the house, like say you got a pool service, you went and cleaned the pool, and he didn't pay you. So if you
didn't pay your property taxes,
the treasurer can put a lien on your property.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, so I got a question. You brought up something that, and I brought this up a couple of weeks ago at the Las Vegas City Council. I find it interesting that when you were talking, you said that your office covers all of Clark County. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't differentiate between Henderson, Las Vegas, North Las Vegas. All the municipalities within Clark County fall under the county recorder's office, correct?
Exactly.
Okay. I'm just curious because that's one of the things that I talked to about the city council, and I know this is not something that you can control, but I find it interesting how we can streamline that process, but the permit process has to follow municipalities.
Right.
Yeah. And then also, that was more of a comment than a question, sorry. So what's your overall budget? And where does the funding come from for your office?
We get our funding from several different sources. For every document that we record according to the law, in order to keep the enhancements in the technology up to date, we get what they call a tech fee. And so for every document that we record, we get $5, and it goes into the tech fund, and that's how we're constantly refreshing the technology. Because otherwise, the county wouldn't be able to afford to keep us up to date, and we would probably be in that situation again. The other fund that we have, it's the general fund. That's the county's budget and the county's overall fund. And that funds the people in our office, how many employees we have.
And who's in control of that? I'm assuming the county commission.
County manager and the county commission approves the budget. Yes.
Is there a specific person in your office that lobbying is a strong term, but is in communication with the county manager and the county commission, saying, "Hey, this is the project that we want to do. We need X amount of dollars in order to do it"? Is that kind of how it works, or no?
With the general fund budget, when they fund the employees, that's just like I call it zero-based budgeting.
Right.
I mean, it's like a flat budget.
Yeah.
This is how much you get every year. Oftentimes, if you're in need of additional staff, they have a supplemental budget that you have to apply to go through that process. As far as the projects, the money that comes in the tech fee fund, we get to outline what enhancements are needed and what projects we're going to go for. And then we take that to the county commission, and they approve for us to have the funds released from the tech fee.
Okay.
You mentioned earlier recording trusts and stuff of that nature. Could you explain homesteads and trusts and the difference between the two and what they're supposed to do when they're recorded?
Well, actually, with the trust, you just bring in your certificate of trust. Normally, if you're setting up a trust, you would go to an attorney. And they're the ones that put all the paperwork together. You list all your assets, pretty much, and then who would be in charge if something happened to you. So the trust paperwork that we get, that we process or record, is it's only like a couple of pages. We call it the certificate of trust, and all that's on there is your name and who your beneficiary is and that kind of thing. So we don't get all the particulars, and certainly don't get the account numbers and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so again, we look for recording requirements, the ink, the margin, things of that nature. With the homestead, that particular document is on the webpage in Brianna's office, and it's to protect your property pretty much. So people can't just come along and sue you and take your home overnight. There's a certain limitation, and again, that's by law, how far they can go, how much money is really protected when you have equity in your property.
So is it best to homestead your property, or put your property in a trust, or put it in both, or quit claim your property to a trust?
Now, I don't give legal advice because of the law, but I'll just tell you personally. Yeah, personally, I did both. I homesteaded my property and put it in a trust, and that's what we see most of the citizens do.
But there was one more, because I was up at the assessor's office last week, and I was because I like to educate myself on certain things, and I said, is it best to quit claim your property into a trust name? And they were telling me some legal advice on how to do that, and I want to hear from you. Is it your opinion? Is it best to quit claim the property into the trust, or just put the property in the trust and just walk away from it?
And again, I wouldn't want to sit here and give legal advice, and then some attorneys out there watching and say
they scared you might take their money away from them.
Oh, they make enough. Don't worry, you're fine.
But as far as it depends on what you're trying to accomplish, whether or not you would do that. I've seen documents that roll through where they do actually quit claim their property into a trust, and then I've seen other occasions where they just do, like I said, they just homestead the property and then make sure that it's protected and put into the trust.
Okay.
So again, depends on what you're trying to accomplish.
Okay.
So this is kind of a shameless plug. So, Mrs. Conway, how many other, just for my information, how many other times have you been contacted by other groups or shows that have asked you to come on and be interviewed and explain your job?
How many other groups or
Yeah.
lots and explain what it is that we do, especially when we're running for office. We have an agenda that's grueling in terms of different groups. We talk to the Realtors Association. We talk to title companies. We talk to Nevada Power, those individuals who handle their properties. We talk to senior groups. The senior citizens have different groups. We go out in Henderson. We meet with them at the library. I've talked to AARP before. I mean, it's lots and it's numerous. Different political groups will ask you to come out. Different sororities, fraternities, because they want to understand what your role is in the whole process. So I can't put a number to it.
Oh yeah, no, I was just curious because it's just I find it interesting that and I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm glad they do, because like when I ask most people, and the reason why I'm saying this is because if this morning I'm having breakfast and I said, well, I'm going to interview the Clark County Recorder today. And they're like, oh yeah, that sounds like fun. And I'm like, no, actually it's very important. And they're just like, oh.
And that's one of the reasons why we do go out. We offer to come out into the community and to educate people. Yeah. Because I'll tell you something about our office that when we share that with an audience, they go like, wow, we didn't know you guys did that kind of work. The fact that we not only record documents, of course, we charge a recording fee, $42 for each document that we record.
You got to pay for what you get, obviously.
Yeah, and that's by law.
Yeah.
And the other side of the coin is that a lot of people don't realize that we bring in taxes, real property transfer taxes. Anytime a property changes hands, we're the ones who collect the taxes. So the real property transfer taxes go to the state of Nevada.
How much is that transfer tax?
The transfer tax, there's a percentage that it's on our webpage of whatever it is that the cost of the property is. But
what's the percentage?
Pardon me?
What's the percentage of the transfer tax?
I'm not real sure. Our
Does
auditors,
it vary?
No, it's by law. It's by law. And our auditors charge the percentage. They calculate it on each transaction that comes over the counter.
So there's a particular percentage and times by the cost of the property, right?
Right.
Okay.
So the formula itself is on our webpage. You can calculate your percentage if you purchase a property and it's getting ready to change hands. You can calculate it. The calculator is on our webpage. And that's what our auditors do. Every property that comes through our office, if it's changing hands, they calculate what the real property transfer taxes are. And then they have to collect those taxes before the document records. So bottom line is we bring in billions of dollars that for the state of Nevada that goes into their coffers to help fund transportation, education, all the different things that the state does. And when I tell people that, it's like, wow, we didn't know, your office to do that kind of thing. And also, our office contributes to the overall health of the county's budget, the general fund that I told you about, how the county funds our people. Right now with the market, I say it's kind of off the chain. We've never seen a market like this before. Houses are selling. When the homeowner first talks to the realtor has the house sold before they even put it up.
Wow.
So homes are selling, and our people are working night and day to make sure that the recordings happen on the same day. And I said that to say this. For the general fund, we're bringing in anywhere between $1 million to $2 million a day. So our role is behind the scenes.
$1 million to $2 million a day.
A day, yes.
And what about new projects?
Well, the new projects, like I said, we outlined those at the beginning of the year. So the projects are already running concurrent with the fact that we're doing recordings on a daily basis.
So another question that I'd have, and you having a management degree, here's one of the issues I have with government in general. Like, this is just because I just feel like they constrain a lot of stuff. So for instance, like right now, you're, like you said, the housing market and like the workload for your department is huge right now,
Yes.
right? So I'm assuming there's got to be some staffing stress there, right? Is there any fluctuation that you get? Like, is there any way that you can add a certain number of staff members when the volume gets really high, and then if it decreases, reduce that?
Like temps or part-time?
Yeah, right.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. We can add temporary people, go through one of the temporary agencies and bring in temps that can help with the mailbacks, mailing items back.
Oh, okay.
Part-timers.
You mentioned manpower earlier.
Yeah. And that's exactly how we handle it. We go and put in a request and say, this is how much work we've got. And in order to take a lot of stuff off the recorder's plate so that they can just record documents, this is why we need these other people.
Okay, good. So you do have some leeway there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you have people working from home?
Yes.
How many?
Well, it varies. Right now, the county is structured, it's open 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, right? Because of the pandemic. We're coming out of the pandemic. And
It sounds like you're going to still keep the Monday through Thursday, aren't you?
yeah, it looks like it.
Pandemic or not.
Right. It saves,
So what happens on June 1? Are you going to go Monday to Friday, or?
we're already Monday through Friday.
Well, I
And
thought you said Monday through Thursday.
The county building is open Monday through Thursday, but our staff works Monday through Friday.
Oh, so you have no customers coming, so I can't walk in there
Correct.
and record something. I'm going to be
Correct.
upset. It'll be a Friday. I got my In-N-Out burger in my hand, and I'm just trying to get things done.
The last thing you need to do is deal with him on a Friday, so that's probably better for you.
But we don't open the doors on Friday, but we do electronic recording. That's another feature that we implemented since I've been there.
So how
Where
many
the-
people working from home, Ms. Conway?
Okay, so basically what happens is on Fridays when we're closed, we can check out laptops to individuals who want to work from home or who have volunteered to work. Basically for them, it's overtime because they work Monday through Thursday.
Right.
And so it can be 4 people, it can be 5 people. It just depends on who volunteers. And so all they do from home is they dial into the system and electronically record the documents.
You have your own company vehicle?
No. No.
Well, how do you check these sites? Do you have a gas card or?
I don't have a gas card. As an elected official, we don't have that.
Do you have to do
Use
your
my own vehicle?
Do you
Yes, my own
submit your own
gas.
mileage? Submit your mileage?
Nothing. No.
Really? So you go from site to site. There's 3 sites, right?
Yeah, the one in Henderson, the one on Tenaya, and the one at the
And
main
you don't have
office.
they don't have give you a gas card or anything for that?
We're elected officials, and whatever benefits we receive comes through the legislature. It's in the law. It dictates pretty much what we get. The
The reason why I
department
brought that
heads.
up because the public administrator says he could get a company car if he needed it.
Okay.
So I
Well-
figured that you probably could get one too,
We have access to the county vehicles, but I don't use those.
but you don't use them.
Right.
Okay.
And I pretty much use my own vehicle. And also, Also, as far as we don't get any benefits other than what's outlined in the law.
What's your annual budget for your office?
We get anywhere from 3.9 to 5 million to run the entire office for the employees, because of cost of living increases, wages, so forth, and that comes out of general fund. So, like I said, it's a flat one.
Do you have any retirees coming out of your office that you have to replace?
I don't know of anyone currently who's planning to retire like within the next 6 months. Mm-hmm. So they're pretty much stable. Our employees are pretty much stable. The office is stabilized. We got a lot of good employees, dedicated, committed, because they own homes and they understand the process, and it's their desire to serve the public.
So you're going to go for a 4th term versus 5 term?
This will be 5.
5 term.
Yes.
Why are you moving for a 5th term? What are you hoping to accomplish in the next 4 years?
Okay. When I came in, as I mentioned, I had outlined a whole bunch of things that would enhance the services in the office. Right. So there's more projects that need to be accomplished. There are more things that I wanted to make happen.
Like what?
Well, I tell you one that we're working on right now. It's called home recording. Mm-hmm. That you're able to sit at your computer at home, and instead of bringing your homestead and your DD-214 down to our office and recording it, you can record it. If you have a scanner at home, you can scan it in, just like we're doing electronic recording with the title companies and with the with that industry. You can take on recording yourself from home.
Wouldn't that, if that moves rapidly, would that lower your staff that you would need? If people are just recording from their home and don't have to. No, actually,
the staff has to record it, and we still need the recorders, because each document that comes to us electronically, it comes up on the screen, and they have to record it and dump it into the database. So it wouldn't lower the number of people, but what it would do is lower the traffic on the expressways of people coming to the government center. It'll save you time and save you money on your gas.
An emission system.
Exactly.
So what other projects you want to implement in the recorder's office besides that one?
Well, I could go through this.
Yeah, let's hear it.
This is my little laundry list. Okay. One of them's called Lights Out.
You've got names for them.
Yeah, it's bulk recording. By bulk recording, we mean when, say, for example, City of Las Vegas, I'll use Republic Services as an example. When they put a lot of liens on properties, like during this period when individuals are losing their homes, foreclosure, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And then the waste company goes in and put liens on all these properties. So they bring in a whole bunch of documents in one day, like they may bring in 500 to 1,000 for us to record. So we call that bulk recording and Lights Out, where we can actually have them record the documents and submit them electronically. Right now, they're not doing it. Okay. So that's one project that we want to establish with entities such as the city. We call the city and Henderson. They have documents to record, so they have to bring those in as well. And so we call that recording, that's another project, it's called Gov to Gov, from one government to another government. Okay. Right. Electronically submitting documents. So that's another one of my on the radar type of projects. And there's one that the public keeps asking for, that we're talking about and we're contemplating doing, and we're trying to phase it out to see how soon we can make that happen. Everybody wants to be able to go into our webpage and pull up the document and print it out. Right now, you can pull up what we call the index, and you can see that the document is there, and if you want a copy of it, then you have to purchase a copy, right? They want to be able to access the document and just print it out at home. So that's a project that we have to phase out over a period of years, because if you can pretty much imagine, we've got billions of documents in our database. So we'd have to break it down in chunks and get with a company and be able to get that up on our webpage. And the thing that we have to do before that, which is another project that we'll be working on, is called a redaction project. We have to redact your Social Security numbers and any information that, say, the title company may have recorded with us that pertains to your property. So redaction first, get all the pertinent information off the document, and then we'll be able to get it up on the web page and have a team of folks working on that. So that's what I want to get accomplished.
So that's it with just that one. Is there any more?
Well, that's a lot.
Yeah. Well, and I'm glad, and I'm actually glad you said that, because here's one of the things, Mrs. Conway, that like really frustrates me about people that are in political positions. I won't get into, I don't think your position should be elected, but whatever. I think you're doing a great job, by the way. So it's nothing against you. There are certain positions that I just honestly don't think should be elected. Anyway, with that being said, it really frustrates me when politicians go and you ask them, well, what do you want to accomplish in the next 4 years? And they list off 17 things. Mm-hmm. Knowing how government works, government is not supposed to, I know some people would like it to work faster than it does, but it doesn't work that fast. So if you can accomplish those 3 major things in 4 years, right, that's a hell of an accomplishment.
Right. Exactly.
In my opinion. And I think too many people are like, oh, well, might say, oh, well, she only wants to do 3 things in 4 years. Trust me, if you know anything about government, specifically your position, mm-hmm, that would be a hell of an accomplishment.
Exactly. You're exactly right. And all the things that we've done, especially the kiosks, those are things that you have to get the funding, attach the funding. Right. There's loopholes that you got to jump through. And you're absolutely right. Things don't happen overnight, but you have to persevere and you have to stay focused until you get to the end of the road. And so that's where I'm coming from.
Have you ever had to lobby the legislators to get different laws changed or amended?
Laws that pertain to recording. Sometimes somebody may go up to the legislature and have their own agenda as to how they want to see the office to run. And then when we see the laws come through, if it's detrimental to what we're doing and it's going to hinder our service in some way, so we go up and we talk to the legislatures and we tell them the pros and cons of what it is that they're looking at.
How important is it for someone to be the head of the recorder's office that actually knows exactly what's going on in the recorder's office? Because, a lot of people, they look at the ballot and people, how they call them office shop. And they want to, I want to run for this office, but they don't know a doggone thing about that office. Right. Exactly. How important is it for somebody to actually be entrenched in the office, to rise, to be the leader of that office? How important is that?
It's very important, and I'm glad you brought that up, because we were just talking about that the other day. Because my background is in business, I say to my staff and I say to people, it's important that you know your business. You got to know every aspect of it. You got to be able to drill down whenever there's an issue or problem. You have to know what to contemplate and how to deal with and stamp out problems before you get a molehill and it turns into a mountain.
Right.
And so just to give you an example, in our office, we have a telephone center. We answer over 300 phone calls a day from all over the world. People are calling in, asking us to look up properties, want copies of different documents, that type of thing. So we allocated a number of people to that effort. We also have an audit unit, the ones that bring in the money for the state, the real property transfer taxes. Those individuals deal with attorneys, they deal with casinos, they deal with, a lot of high-powered folks that think they know the law better than we do. So you have to have your hands around that component in the department. Then you got your recorders that are looking at over 50,000 documents a day, and they're constantly rolling through. That's not an easy task to turn around 50,000 documents in one day. We only got 30 people doing it.
Right.
So you have to understand what type of technology is going to work in the office in order to expedite things. Because we tell the public that we turn their documents around. It's same-day service. If you walk in with a document, we scan it in, we record it, we hand it back to you. We don't hold on to it and say, okay, come back in 9 months or 3 days or whatever. So we record there on the spot and we get it up on the web page right away. Our work feeds into Brianna's office, into the assessor's office. So at night, we have to download all of the data that we collected during the day, transfer it over to her office so that they can make the transfers on the properties. Her office.
Hand in hand with the assessor, correct?
Exactly. But you got to understand that our work not only feeds into the assessor because they have to make the property transfers and put the proper name on the properties. And then from there, the work flows to the treasurer who figure out the taxes for the property. So we're on the front end, without us doing what we do, they wouldn't be able to do their jobs.
You know, and it's interesting that you bring that up, because it's almost like, I remember when I was going back to get my master's degree in management, and I was like, oh, I know everything about marketing. So I go into my first marketing class, very eye-opening, because most people just assume marketing is just advertising. That's it. They're not looking at the production and how many people it takes and how to get it to market. And like, there's so many different things that go into it.
Exactly.
And so it's really easy for somebody that has a general idea of how your office should work.
Mm-hmm.
But until they actually understand all the components that you just explained, it's a lot more in depth, and there's a lot more involved in it than people realize.
Exactly. And then you've got at the end of the day, all the proceeds that you collect, you're responsible for the monies, and it has to go to the treasurer's office at the end of the day. So that's where my banking background comes into play. Having, known how to process like a teller, package the monies and then make sure they're dropped off and given to the Brinks truck or whatever, like for the branches if they have to send money in. And then you got to know how to stay on top of, well, if people have questions, if every document that comes over the counter, we don't record. But you got to know what the law says. The law specifically tells us which documents we can and cannot record. So somebody off the street that don't understand all those things and think, if I put a badge on my chest and I call myself the recorder, and all I got to do is just sit in the office and look good.
Yeah.
It's hands-on, and it's very detailed, and it's very complex. The treasurer's job is very complex. She has CPAs running around doing the investments for the county and that kind of thing. And then Brianna's office is complex because you're assessing properties and attaching values to them. And what we do is very detailed. And like I said, anybody that wants to, it's like running a business because it has all those different elements, and you have to be able to stay on top of those things.
I have two questions that come to mind. The first one is how does a person make their address confidential? And the second question is what happens if somebody maliciously put a lien on your property that is false? What type of action could you take against that person?
Okay, first things first. What happens if you want to make your property confidential? Then it's on you. What you have to do, first of all, there's laws, and they're passing some more laws this legislative session that pretty much dictate who can make their properties confidential. It has to be people like the policemen, the folks that work in juvie in that area, judges, judges. So the folks that work in the Attorney General's office, And those people, battered women, people that someone may come after for some reason or another, and look their address up in our records and then go after them for some strange reason. The legislature determines whose addresses can be made confidential. So that's what we have to go by. Then the second thing is, if you fall in those categories, then you have to go to the courts and get what we call an affidavit, or get the permission, a court order telling us that we need to make your address confidential. Then you bring it into us, and we look up the information in our database, and then we can obscure it, that the public, when they pull it up and say, oh, who lives here at this property? It says taxpayer, or it says confidential. Mm-hmm. So that's the process. But the only way we can do it is it has to be a court order and affidavit.
Gotcha.
Okay, question number 2 was?
Somebody filed a malicious lien against your property. What kind of how could you go after that person for doing that?
Okay, basically what we do, and we do have people that come in and say, this person filed a false lien against me. Why did you guys record the lien?
That's what I probably would say.
Yeah. We've had it before. So what we explain to them is everything that we record is according to the law. One of the documents that the law tells us that we have to, we're kind of like in a catch-22.
Right.
If we don't record it, we can be fined. If we do record it and it is a document that is a false document, then...
Could you be fined?
No. No, what happens is we intervene. There was a situation where somebody went against the property, and anyway, long story short, we were able to go to court, testify, and that individual had to pay back all the monies, and part of the money went to the county. We were able to get $85,000 out of the deal.
Oh, wow.
But basically what we do is somebody comes in, tell us that they had a false lien filed on their property. Then we print out a copy and we turn it over to our DA, our attorney. And I told you she has this network with the Attorney General's office and Metro. And so the investigation starts in terms of looking into the matter. We have to record the document if it falls within the confines of the recording requirements. It's not incumbent upon us to determine if it's legitimate or not, because we don't have the investigators, we don't have the resources. So we will help the individual to go through the process and who to contact, and put them in connection with the right people. And then they, in turn, will pursue it from that point.
Jim?
No, not really a question. No, well, yeah, I guess it is a question. So you're going to run for a 5th term. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be honest, not for me and Steve, because we're into this stuff. But most people would consider your job pretty boring. Very important. No, but hear me out. Very important.
Okay.
Obviously, but a lot of people would be like, who really wants to do that job? So because we're running close on time, can you explain why you like your job so much and why you want to be reelected and do this for 4 more years? Because it's not a glamour position at all. It's very important.
Right.
But what makes you so passionate that makes you want to do this for 4 more years?
I'll tell you, like I told my staff the other day, we had a department-wide meeting.
Yeah.
And I said to them, I shared something with them that even they didn't realize. I said, because we're making a difference. A lot of people don't understand we make a huge difference. And during the pandemic, it demonstrated what type of a difference we made.
Right.
When we're bringing in $1 million a day, $2 million a day, that money is going into the general fund for the county. Other departments like juvie, social service, that don't bring in money, they would have had layoffs. They would have had children in juvie who would have been hurt by this pandemic. the money that we bring in is funding the county, and it's trickling down into streets and roads and education and all that stuff when we send billions in real property transfer taxes to the state of Nevada. So it's important that we behind the scenes get in the trenches and do what we do in order to keep the rest of the county afloat. And that's what drives me I'm passionate about making a difference.
She's like Penguin in Gotham.
Yeah,
she brings in the money.
I really
to make sure everything else works.
I really appreciate you saying that, because just so you don't think I was trying to come across rude at all. People ask me about what I do too. They're like, logistics is so boring. It's so dry. Like, you're worried about there's only 3 items of this on the shelf and like updating counts, and like it's a very mundane job, right? And I'm like, but it makes a difference, because if my numbers aren't correct, then when you come in the shop in my store, that merchandise isn't going to be there.
That's right.
So you are making a difference.
That's right. And it's important to me. I feel that everybody in my office, and I said this to them too, they're public servants. You wouldn't have signed up if you didn't understand what the job is all about. You're here to serve the public. Right. And so the way we serve the public is by bringing in the resources and the monies that we bring in. That's why it's imperative that we streamline our processes so we can continue to, when the market changes and the economy grows and the houses are selling off the hook, we have to be postured to be able to accommodate that growth. Right. And so behind the scenes, we're making a huge difference, because if we didn't bring in the money, then those services couldn't be offered. Those departments that perform services, they don't bring in money. They wouldn't be able to do it if it wasn't for folks like us.
Well, Recorder Conway, thank you so much for coming on the program. Could you look into the camera and tell folks why that it's in their best interest to put you back in office for another 4 years, and your point of contact?
Okay, I'll just start with my point of contact. You can reach me at Clark County Government Center at the building during the day. The number is area code 702-455-2062. And I think it's important, again, that I get reelected, and I'm going to run for office another time, because there are other projects that are on the table that that I want to make certain happen before I ride off into the sunset, so to speak. And I think it's imperative to get those projects done and to finish the course, because my thing is, and I say this to my staff on a daily basis, the thing that motivates me is that when all is said and done and the conclusion to the whole matter, I want to be able for that office to run like clockwork, almost like being able to close your eyes and push a button and things just happen. And we're not at that stage yet. We're constantly working on it every day. And some of these other projects that I enumerated is going to take us to that level, to that point. And so that's why I feel that I know the office, I've been there, I know all the intricacies of the office, I know how it comes together, I know the purpose of it, how to manage the budget. The staff is great, they're hard workers, they're good people, and we have a rapport and a relationship that we can work and work off of each other and make things happen for the public. And we always say our motto is, this office is designed with you, the public, in mind. And so that's how we come to work every day. That's our attitude, and that's why we want to serve. So I appreciate it, any support that you give me the opportunity to come back and to make it happen for you.
Thank you so much. Folks, that's Debbie Conway, who is the Clark County Recorder. She's up for re-election in 2022, and she wants your vote to make sure she continues the legacy of enhancing the Clark County Recorder's office for the next 4 years. This is Steve Sampson, Jim Jonas with Veterans in Politics. Until next time.